Hello, everyone. Welcome to another very exciting workshop, Quality Metrics and KPIs, and how can you measure quality success. My name is Ruslan. We're going to start shortly. Let's just give another minute for everybody to come in. I know some people are trying to log in. Just another 60 seconds, we will wait. So I'm very excited for all of you to be here. It's going to be a very interesting workshop. Always a pleasure seeing, many of you part of the community during those sessions where committed, organized this very unique platform, which will allows you to learn a lot about quality assurance and software testing. So let's just give another 20 seconds. I'm watching the clock. We're going to have hour and a half. We try to make sure we're going to cover all this material, plus leave some room for sessions, for questions. Great. So it's 12:02 here in New York. I think we can start. So just a couple of ground rules before we start. You guys will have the ability to ask questions and you have to do this in chat, right? So you would not be able to ask through the voice. You would be able to write it here in the chat and I would be able to answer and address all those questions. This session actually will be very interactive. I like interactions. I like to ask questions. I like to receive answers. So please feel free to, reply with the answers to the chat, and I would be able to see all the answers and basically interact. Okay, we're going to leave, as I said, some room for various of different questions after we complete the session. And you guys can feel to, address any of your questions and I'll be able to address it. Okay, so I think we can start right now. We all ready? So let's start. So today's session, why we are here today, what we're going to learn today. Again, the workshop is a practical session, right? The idea is not just simply provide you the information. I want to make sure that at the end of the workshop, you guys would be able to do something, to take something back to your organizations and be able to implement certain things and be able to utilize and leverage the skills what you gain today. Okay, so this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover how we measuring our own quality success, right? What does it mean, quality success? We are all in quality assurance and testing. So what it means, how to measure quality success, extremely important area to understand. How to measure your team's quality success, right? You all part of Scrum teams. You sometimes you're part of the QA teams, right? In the waterfall fashion. So how to measure quality success of the team, extremely important. Why metrics are important, right? Everybody talks about metrics, but really what's the, meaning behind the metrics? Why it's so crucial to understand how to measure key performance indicators, not just look at the raw data, but really truly measure key performance indicators. You'll learn my favorite metric. What is my favorite metrics? There are over hundreds of metrics out there which measuring productivity, quality, performance, financial aspects of the organizations and health, operational metrics, agile related metrics. There is tons of those metrics which are out there. Today, in order for us to fully concentrate, I decided to showcase to you only one metric. I can show you lots of metrics, but we're not going to be able to fit within 1 hour and a half. So today we're going to learn one specific metrics, which is extremely important, which I believe many of quality assurance engineers out there absolutely must measure and use this type of metrics. And unfortunately, based on my 23 years of experience, whoever I talk to, very rarely I found quality assurance professionals who truly understand how to measure and how to calculate this metric specifically, because many of you out there calculating this metric incorrectly, and that's something which you will learn how to do it properly and correctly. We're gonna talk about what is test efficiency indicator and how to measure this test efficiency indicator, what is the defect leakage, why it's so important, why it's crucial to measure it. We'll try to answer the question, can numbers lie, right? The numbers should never lie. Although you can make up some numbers and sugarcoat some numbers, but I will show you how numbers should never lie. Can metrics fight injustice? You will ask, what do you mean? I mean, we're in quality assurance. What are you talking about, Ruslan? What injustice are you talking about? You guys will see. Very interesting case study, which I showcase to you and share with you. And finally, again, we will leave the room for questions and answers, okay? So let's start. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Ruslan Desyatnikov, founder and CEO of QA Mentor, quality assurance testing company. I've been around in this field for the last 23 years, started as a junior tester a long time back, end up in quality assurance testing field by accident. After graduation, have a very hard time finding a job. And after 3 months, a junior tester position hit me. At that time, I had no clue about what, junior tester, what testing is all about. I mean, I understood based on the college concepts of testing, but, everybody were going into the development. I just, and I was not able to pass the interview to become a developer. And, I end up myself in testing. And since that time, I never regretted. So you can read this, I don't want to go over this. It's just to bore you. Again, you can follow me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can ask any questions after this meeting. I try to help anybody who needs help or have a question relating to quality assurance and testing. Shoot emails, shoot messages. I'll try to, answer them. Even though, I'm receiving about 400 messages daily on LinkedIn only itself, I promise that, I eventually get to all of the answers at some point of time. So let's start, okay? So my favorite interview question, which I'm asking, and I conducted thousands of interviews in my career in the last 23 years. The question is, how do you measure your quality success? How do you know you are successful in what you do, right? And as a quality assurance professional, how do you measure your quality success? What is attributed to the quality success? So I open this room for answers. So guys who are participating in this workshop, please feel free to reply in the chat. And I wanted to see basically responses to this question. If you guys have any answers, please feel free to reply. If somebody will ask you on the interview, how do you measure your quality of success? What's the answer will be, okay? Any answers, guys? Let me check. The room. Here we go. I just feel that I'm successful, just a feeling. Well, feeling, yeah, I feel I'm successful. I feel I'm good. It's just a personal feeling. But how can you prove that this feeling is correct? Based on test reports, test closure? Well, so good answer, good answer. But let me challenge you back. Based on test reports, right? So at the end of the sprint, for example, 2-week sprint, 1-week sprint, 3-week sprints, at the end of the release, you producing test completion report, test execution report, which consists of various of different metrics and information which was completed, right? Number of test cases executed, pass, failed, defects identified, severity levels of them, number of outstanding issues, number of defects which are moved into the next sprint or into the next release, or deferred defects, maybe productivity, how many individually people find defects, right? So all of these good stats, good of the information. But the thing is, it's just a raw data. To me, it's a raw data. It's just the data, right? But what is the measurements outside of this report, right? So how do you know you did a good job? Now, delivering on time, it's part of the good job. Delivering with quality, definitely it's a good job. But how do you know that you deliver a good job? How do you know that the client will be satisfied and happy? You just simply completing the report and sending this report internally to the stakeholders, to the Scrum team. But how do you know the clients will be happy based on this report, right? Now, other product quality is better than it was before, okay? It's a good answer, but I will challenge you back. But what was before and what is now? What do you mean product quality, right? It's like your blood pressure. Yesterday it was, 140/70. Today it was 125/70, right? So it went down a little bit. We have a comparison, right? So how are you comparing the product quality, right? How is it measured in terms of the product quality? What are you measuring behind that product quality? Thanks, Vladimir, for answering this. User satisfaction, the number of users complaints is low defect, low defined for each project separately. Yeah, user satisfaction is measured in numbers of complaints, and complaints equals production issues, production problems. Absolutely, you're getting closer to this, so this is good. This is good. But if there is one complaint versus 10 complaints, there's still complaints in production. So what does it mean? Is it great quality, average quality, low quality, right? Got to measure. So you're getting closer. You're getting closer. Test cases success versus test cases failure. Correct. Now, this is a good metrics, by the way, but I challenge you on this. So if I have, let's say, 1,000 test cases to be executed as part of this release, or sprint. I mean, sprint, it's too many test cases, obviously, but let's say 100 test cases, okay, as part of the sprint. I executed all of them. 90%, 90 test cases passed, 10% failed. Out of 10%, there was 10 defects originated, 7 defects were fixed. Still 3 defects remains unfixed. Those 3 defects needs to be moved to the next sprint. And decision was business decision. Stakeholders decided not to address those 3 defects in this release. Everybody is in agreement, right? So what does it mean? I mean, you had 90 test cases passed and 10 test cases failed only. Is it good? Is it bad? What's the temperature? Is it the right temperature? Is it the low temperature? Is it high temperature, right? You don't know, right? Need to have weight depending on priority. Oh, here we go. Excellent. Who said that? Hannah. Need to factor of priority, of course. Excellent. This is extremely, extremely important aspect of defects severity identification, because you might have a high serious critical issue and you might have a low serious issues, although it might be a miss in production, but both of them totally different. One is really high and it's a big problem that you missed it. Another one, it's slow, maybe, compatibility issue, maybe UI overlapping issue, maybe spelling mistake. A little spelling mistakes does not really hurt, a major functionalities, right? So remember this, whoever said that, weightage of not the priority, but severity of the issues. We will see this in our calculation of today's demonstration. This is extremely, extremely important factor. And we will get back to this because many of you out there don't consider this when it comes to the defect leakage calculation. You calculate defects. Oh, I missed 3 defects. Okay, but what types of defects? What's the ranking of those defects? Showstoppers, serious, critical, medium, low. Okay, this is extremely important. So can you kindly repeat the answer? So how do you measure your quality success? If somebody will ask me this question, if I will go on the interview, I would say that there are certain KPIs which I measure my personal success, not as a CEO. Forget about CEO. I am a tester right now, same as you guys. I've been wearing this hat for many years. So first is, if I'm successful as a tester, I want to make sure that everything I do as part of the testing, whether it's a module which is assigned to me and I'm responsible for building test cases or executing these test cases for this module, if I'm responsible for the regression testing of the regression testing repository, and let's say I am executing 100 test cases, after completing, I want to see a track record. What that track record means is defect leakage. I want to make sure that personally, I, Ruslan Desyatnikov, didn't miss any defects as a result of my testing, okay? Whether I'm testing a new functionality, whether I'm testing an enhancements, whether I am retesting a defect, which is part of the sprint and was carried on from the previous sprint, whether I am executing a regression test cases, which was written previously. I don't want to have any defects behind my name, okay? Because this is the assurance that I'm doing a good job. I'm not missing any problems, any issues behind me. Now, if we part of the same team and we involved and there are multiple quality engineers part of the sprint team, that's the attitude, that's the aspect for everyone to measure that behind you, when you complete execution, when you complete testing, there is no defects which you personally missed based on the coverage, okay? That's one thing. Now, other personal quality success measurements are, what is my productivity? How productive I am, and how to measure productivity. Now, you can measure productivity in number of test cases which you build on a daily basis, right? And there's metrics and there's KPIs and there's the standards which you can follow, right? And again, number of test cases are different. So it depends on complexity of the feature or functionality or user stories which you're writing this for. I see some people already starting putting the formulas. This is great, Hannah. Thank you very much. We're going to get to that point. I'm trying to monitor the answers and at the same time address some of the questions as well. But this is good. Keep writing, Hannah. We'll get to that point very shortly. But again, so productivity, extremely important. Number of test cases you design, number of test cases you execute per day, right? So that's the productivity. How do you measure against somebody else? Remember, I mean, testing is not the race. Testing is more than the race, right? So it's extremely, extremely important to understand your KPIs. It's like in school, you have a report card, right? In math, I got 100 or A. In science, I got B. This is the same thing. If you're a tester, you got to have a report card. I'll tell you an interesting story. So before QA Mentor, 15 years ago, I was managing big teams, from 15 people to 150 people, big teams. Now, when it comes to appraisal, right, that's my personally favorite part, because I wanted to showcase based on my honest opinion what's your accomplishments for the year is based on my understanding, based on my views. And you would not believe, when I had appraisals with everyone, with guys coming in into my office, they were coming in with, I don't know if you see the video right now, or with this, with a lot of data, information, preparation, right? So, every time people were questioning what is inside. What is inside is basically their KPIs, their metrics based on their performance. They were measuring everything throughout the whole year. How many test cases they executed, how many the defects they identified, the severity levels of the defects, the defect leakages for responsible areas which they were responsible for, and many other things. Okay, so how to measure your quality success? You gotta be able to understand the numbers behind. How do you know Ruslan is good? How do you know Ruslan is performing? How do you know Ruslan is better performing than the other members of my team, or performing worse than the other members of the team, right? You need to know yourself. This is not for the manager. I mean, manager obviously needs to know this, but you personally need to know this. If you don't know this, it's a problem, right? If I don't know, if I go to the doctor and I don't know what's my cholesterol level is, I cannot control this. I don't know if I need to exercise more. I don't know if I need to put myself on a diet to lower the cholesterol level, right? So I look at the results of the blood test and I see different levels in the blood test. And based on that, we can make decisions. We can make conclusions. We can make recommendations. We can make and adjust the journey to improve, or say, well, I think everything going well. I really don't need to improve, okay? But you need to know that data. KPI, somebody asked, KPI means, I'm sorry, KPI means key performance indicators, okay? Key performance indicators. It's a percentage of calculation of certain things. It's not the raw data. Raw data is number of defects identified. That's a raw data. That's not KPI. Key performance indicator is basically a defect leakage, a percentage of certain things, of something. And it has a formula behind. All the KPIs has formula behind. And this is what we're going to cover today. Again, I cannot cover all the KPIs which is out there. And believe me, there are a lot of them. I show you one template, which we did for one client. They wanted to establish 40 KPIs, key performance indicators, to measure their quality program, including the agile part of it as well. 40 KPIs. Imagine 40 things you need to measure during the software development lifecycle, during the sprint implementation. It's a lot of metrics, right? That's what they want. I'm not necessarily think that all of them needs to be measured, but maybe 50% can be measured and really bring a really good results in the decision-making process. Some people might measure all of them. I mean, it all depends, but you got to measure. In order to understand where you are right now, you need to understand the baseline, and that is a measurement. Measuring the baseline right now and see if you need to improve. And you need to understand the metrics as well, which is the industry metrics. How are you doing comparing to industry? Are you behind? Are you ahead of the game? Are you better? Are you worse? So what are that industry numbers, right? And we will talk about this. Okay, so let me see other questions at the same time. Please put your message in there. Okay, so I don't think any other messages. So great, no questions. Let's continue. So you got the answer here, right? Now, the other question. So if you cannot answer this question, if you are in quality assurance and testing and you dealing with quality and you cannot answer how do you measure your quality success, it's a big problem, guys. It's a really big problem. And that's my favorite question. If you're in QA and you don't know how to measure quality of your own work, how can you make a difference? How can you add and contribute towards overall quality deliverables of the product, right? You got to understand this. So your answer, so we get the answers from me, from you, right? We got the idea. Now, the other favorite question, which I'm asking to QA managers. So Mr. QA manager, right? You're managing a team, right? It's like a coach. You have a soccer team and there's a coach. So how do you measure your team's quality success, right? And the coach said, well, I won the World Cup, or oh, I won the Champion League, you know, or I took second place there, right? So there's some accomplishments behind, right? So how do you measure your team quality success, right? Same way, you have to have metrics in place. You have to have the KPIs which measure the quality. If your team completed testing on time, that's one thing. You got extra point for this, but that's not the whole thing. If your team identify all the issues and problems, and in production there is no complaints from the customers, you're getting closer. It's great, but it's also not the whole thing, because building the right product, that's extremely important. Building the product to adhere to the requirements and satisfy the clients is not the same. I deliver a product with 0 defects, and that means the product has a great quality, right? No, that's not the case. Do you understand, guys? This is not the case. when you deliver the product, okay, when you deliver a release and the product which you're delivering has 0 defects, doesn't mean that you did a fantastic job. We want to make sure that basically you guys adhere to the requirements and the clients will actually enjoy the features which were part of the release, which were delivered to the client. If you just say I have 0 defects, so what? That's great, but is the product built the right way or not? Okay. So any questions on this? I see some questions, customer satisfaction level surveys. Okay, good, good, excellent. Hard to use metrics to evaluate the team. Well, doing product right and doing right product are different points. Absolutely. Yes, I completely agree. But I disagree with the fact that hard to use metrics to evaluate the team. It's not hard to use metrics to evaluate the team because, as I mentioned, you can evaluate your team members at the individual level. You can evaluate the team at overall team level and compare. Maybe you have 2 agile teams, right? Scrum teams. So you have the QA teams supporting different product lines. You can see the difference. You can see absolutely based on the metrics, you can see the accomplishments, the success criteria through the metrics. So in my opinion, it's not difficult to evaluate the team. You need to learn how to do this. If you don't know, this is why we're here for. We're going to teach you. We're going to train you. We're going to guide you. But you need to know. If you're a QA manager, you're responsible for the overall team success, productivity, quality deliverables, adherence to the standards, to the project deadlines, right? That's your responsibility as a QA manager, right? All right. Let's continue, guys. I know we're running out of time here. So it's 30 minutes and I didn't even actually get to the point of how we're calculating this because that's the key. I don't want you to come back, and say, oh, Ruslan just said this is, high level things. No, I never talk high level. I talk practical things which supported with the way you need to implement this and with the templates, with the calculations, with the formulas. So you're going to go back to your teams, and then you will tell, Mr. QA manager, I learned something today. Now I know how to measure personally my success as a quality assurance professional. Also, I can help you to understand how to measure the quality success of our team. So we can show, and you can show to the higher management, to to all the stakeholders, whether we're doing good or whether we're doing bad, whether we need to improve or whether we're on the right track and still going through the continuous improvements, achieving higher level of maturity, aiming towards level 5 of maturity. That's what you're going to come back and say. I don't want you to listen to this and then say, oh, okay, and then go back and never measure defect leakage, test efficiency indicator, the quality of the product, understand how to calculate defects the proper way and the defect leakage the proper way, how to understand the difference. Yeah, I found 100 defects, but what does it mean 100 defects? How many of them are enhancements or suggestions or recommendations? This is not defects. This is apart from the defects. Defects are problems and issues. Something is not working according to the specification, so according to the requirements. If I'm suggesting that this color should be changed to green or yellow, why are you considering this as a defect? But believe it or not, you will see this because many people mix all the defects in one bucket. So you have suggestions, recommendations, improvements, enhancements, all of them considered to be a defect. No, this is not a defect. Why would you have such a big number and then management looking at this and say, oh my God, look how many issues QA team identified. Is my developer team doing bad job? So it's a wrong impression. I'm going to show you a case study. What's that wrong impression in reality is, and how almost 80 testers team could have been fired if we didn't go and do the due diligence and investigate and evaluated the correctness, completeness of the data behind that team. How easy this whole department in a financial company was completely removed, okay, with the vendor because of the data, which is not properly implemented, because of the statistics, because of the KPIs, which were not accurate and true. You would not understand what could have happened, right? You need to understand this. Let's continue. No questions. Good. Let's go to the next slide. So why metrics are important? By this time, you understand. I already explained you why metrics are so important, right? I need to understand my cholesterol level, my blood, different aspects of it, right? To understand how I am doing, how my body is doing, how my health is, right? The blood pressure, various of different diagnostics, x-rays, you got to understand where do you stand, where your health stand. That's why all of this is important. If you're not going to the doctors, if you're not regularly checking your blood work for the cholesterol level, for example, and you're feeling good, well, God bless you. You can continue to do this, but it's not recommended. You still need to understand where you stand, even if you feel good. You need to understand the metrics. You need to understand the data. You need to understand the data points, right? Without it, you cannot improve. You cannot, change certain things. You cannot enhance certain things. Metrics creates decisions or make you decide and take the action, certain actions towards improving certain things, right? This is your food for thought, okay? I manage things based on metrics. Without metrics, I cannot operate. Absolutely not. It's like I will be blindly operating without the metrics. You would not believe. You might call me, I'm psychic about metrics, maybe, but I need metrics. Anything I do, I have metrics for. In QA, outside of the QA, my personal life, in terms of other hobbies, other things I do. I need metrics to understand where I'm going. I'm doing good or I'm not doing good. If I'm not doing good, why I'm not doing good? How can I compare with somebody else who is doing the same way? I'm doing good against the average, against the sample size, or I'm doing good just because only 5% of people are doing good who are doing the same thing, right? And so many different things. Let's see. They are not about personality. They're about stuff. Metrics not about personality. They're about stuff. Sorry, I mean, I didn't get the statement. Metrics not about the personality. They're about stuff. I'm sorry. Can you clarify? Just write it so I understand a little bit more on this. Okay, let's continue, guys. So let's see something. So again, let's move away from the presentation. What I want to show you one thing first. This is the metrics which we developed, okay, for one organization, QA Mentor, strategic services as part of the QA audit process improvement services, developed the KPIs for one organization to measure various of different aspects of quality. And guess what? Today, we're going to cover 40 of them. No, I'm just kidding. It's not going to be 40. It's going to be just one because we're running out of time already now, and it's not possible to cover 40. We're going to cover 40 in the next sessions, in the next workshops, because every one of you need to understand how to measure all of these metrics. If you will understand that, I call this, you will become a true QA professional, okay? Because if you don't know what needs to be improved, you would not be able to do this. Okay, so guys, let's move and let's talk about something very exciting. So test efficiency, right? So who can, let's not look here, for example. Who can tell me what is the test efficiency? Why do we measure test efficiency? What's the purpose of test efficiency? Any clue, guys? What is test efficiency? Why do we need to measure test efficiency? And what is test efficiency when it comes to testing? Efficiency of what? Effectiveness of what? Interview question, by the way. So some of you who are here would fail it. I'm just kidding, guys. Please let me know. Any answers? What is test efficiency? The number of defects we find, the number of all known defects. Hannah, great formula, but I want you to answer in basic English. What is the test efficiency? Why? What's so important about this? Can somebody summarize? So, okay. Using of time effectively. Okay. Now, using of time effectively. It's interesting point. I would say it's part of it. It's part of it, but it's not that. It's not what I'm looking for. Actually, it's not what I'm looking for. Need to know if our testing is worth the money we spent on it. Yeah, absolutely. ROI, right? We measure ROI in anything we do. If we invest in something, we got to get some returns back. Otherwise, what's the point of investing, right? But it's not, I mean, it's part of it, but it's close. It's close, but it's not what I looking for. The defects we miss cost money and reputation. Good, 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 good. Testing prevents missing defects. Excellent, excellent. Now here we, Hannah, now you're talking, right? Now, no formulas, right? For now, let's not overcomplicate a situation here. Insurance, yeah, absolutely. Insurance before going live. Here is the insurance, right? We're not gonna, fail miserably in production when we release this software, right? Or when we release this mobile application. Or the clients will not start writing negative reviews in the store, right? In the Apple store on the mobile applications, which we can see immediately. Application hits the market, all the negative reviews. And the clients asking, not our clients calling us and said, Ruslan, we just released a software and we have so many defects, so many negative reviews. And I said, was that software cooked enough? Was it well done? Or it was still very fresh from the oven, right? How do you know it was well done that you released this, right? If it was well done, you would not see those complaints in the store, right? So there's something wrong. Service that give info about real state of the product, not based on the developer's promises. Good, good. Test efficiency use, whether the test case is written fulfilling the requirements. Excellent, Shiva. Excellent, good statement. Good statement. So this is how I defined it. Let me show you. So in general, very difficult to measure the efficiency of the testing process, right? Or the testing team of a project. The test efficiency helps to calculate the efficiency of testing, how effective the testing coverage is to discover defects, and how many defects were leaked into customer, right? UAT or production environment. So effectiveness of testing. Effectiveness of testing based on what? Yes, based on your amazing test cases, right? If you're not creating and completely comprehensively covering all the angles through the test cases, through the positive, negative test scenarios, what are you going to get? You're going to get defects leaked into production because you don't have sufficient coverage. You're not covering all the permutations. You're not covering all the boundary testing conditions. You're not covering all the business rules. You're not covering, I can go on and on and on and on, right? You're not covering all of this. There is a problem, right? With effectiveness of the design of your test cases. And efficiency of the testing degrades because of their not fully, completely covered requirements through the test cases. If you don't have enough coverage, you will be missing a defect, right? By default, you will be missing the defects by default. Do you know many customers asking, Ruslan, new customers, Ruslan, we have, regression testing, 2,000 test cases built in. Those 2,000 test cases are automated through various of different technologies. Let's say Selenium, Java, for example. But we have a new release coming in and we always have defects. We all have problems. What is the problem? We have everything. We invested money into the automation. We invested money prior to that in building the test cases. Why are we having defects, right? Why we have a defect leakage still? Why our senior management complains that we invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in building the automation framework and there's still defect leakage? Why? Many whys, right? The answer to this question is very, very simple. The first question is, what types of defects are you missing, right? Are those defects coming from the regression testing? Are those defects coming from the new functionalities and user stories, from the enhancements? Or maybe the defects are things were working today, tomorrow there is new code deployment and something got broken. Or the last build going on the last day of sprint. That's not recommended. You should never have a build in the last day of sprint. Never. Okay. You're not going live on the last day of sprint. Whoever does that, you cannot plan properly the sprints. Okay. And whoever say, yeah, the last day of sprint, it's still active day, we still can review. No. You got to be done. Last day, no code changes, nothing, relaxation, you're waiting, you're blessing the product to release, sprint, to go to production. You're not changing the code. You're not doing regression testing. You're not testing anything at this point of time. Absolutely not. So the point which I'm trying to make is based on the test execution efficiency, it's primarily dependent on test comprehensiveness, the level of your detail level of the test cases and etc. Right? That's what it is. This is how important it is. And this is very, very, very important. So how to measure this? I'm going to give you and teach you guys how to measure. Now, back to this, how to measure this. Extremely important. And this is where I see probably 90% of quality assurance professionals with many years of experience. When I ask, how do you measure test efficiency, or how do you measure defect leakage? And they tell me a basic formula which has no ranking capabilities, where high severity defect equals to the low severity defect, and it's the same thing. So that's why I like whoever sent this, I think it was Hannah, who said that you have to have different rankings for the defects, right? So if you miss a high severity defect, you have to have more penalties. If you miss a low severity defect, your penalty should go down and be lower, right? Makes sense, right? Because if I miss low severity defects and somebody missed the high severity defects, we should not be equally penalized, although we both miss things, but one missed a big problem and another missed a small problem. Do you guys agree? This is the biggest mistake in calculating test efficiency or defect leakage calculation. What about the defect classification? Excellent question. Now, defect classification equivalent to the defect severity. So I might have a UI defect, right? UI defect. And by default, we know that the severity of the UI defect cannot be high or showstopper or critical. UI defects can either fall into the medium severity category or the low severity category, right? So, and if we have a serious defect or medium defect right here, we have those rankings. So good point, defect classification, but classification still can be mapped to the rankings based on severity levels. Critical, serious, medium, low. In some organizations, it's showstopper. In some organizations, it's urgent. Whatever you name, it doesn't matter. But it's got to be ranked appropriately in order to calculate things properly. And I'll show you the trick, how it was not calculated properly, and what can happen. What are the disaster can happen when you're not calculating the defect leakage the proper way and showing this to the management team. What can possibly happen? Okay. To be clear, which defects are important and which are not. Which defects are important and which are not. All defects are important, guys. Even a low severity defect, if it's a small quality. Yeah, I got a brand new car, right? And, you know, I have a little, you know, minor defect, you know, in the interior, for example, well, it's still a problem to me. You know, I expect a brand new car. I don't want any scratches. I don't want any potential defects there, right? So all defects are important, right? I better normalize the coefficient, okay, make them between 0 and 1 to make the calculation comparable. And +1, we can add coefficients based on the only severity, but okay. But what is 0 then? What is 0? If it's a defect, it cannot be classified as 0 points, right? 0, it's nothing. No, nothing. Okay. So I would not agree that you should have a 0 as a classification for a defect. If a defect is a defect, it's got to get some points, half a point, 0.1 point, but something. It cannot be 0, right? Okay. 0. Okay, I've written above. That should sum up. Agree with no. Okay. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. It's a valid point, but let me show you something, and maybe you will interpret this a little bit different. But I got what you're thinking. Thank you very much. I got what you think. This is very valid, what you said. But let me just show you a very interesting thing here. So again, forget about the formulas, because the formulas can get very complex and complicated. Look, this is the formula on top. You see how complex this formula is? For those of you who are not good in math, I'm not very good in math, you know, but this is the formula to calculate, okay, this. But let me give you an example first for now. This is weightage of the defects. Remember we said, and you all agree with me, that critical defects got to be penalized higher in terms of the penalties. Let's say for every miss, I'm going to subtract $4 from your pay if you miss a defect, okay? Or $4,000 from your annual salary if you miss a defect, right? For high, I'm going to subtract $3,000. For medium, $2,000. For low, $1,000. Now, somebody said 0, right? Everybody would be happy. If you miss a defect, I'm not going to subtract anything, but it does not work this way. You got to be penalized, right? Somehow. So are we all in agreement? It doesn't matter. You might give 10 points here or 6 points. Whatever you want, you can give. This is for easy interpretation. This is our level of giving the points, okay? This could be 10 points. This could be 7 points. This could be 5 points. This could be 2 points. Does not matter. This is not what we're debating or discussing about, right? Now, this is very interesting thing, okay? Somebody said, of course, it can be mentioned it above. What can be that the defect can be null? Can't you agree? Sorry, it's hard for me to interpret. I mean, are you agreeing or disagreeing? If you're disagreeing, it's perfectly fine. Just explain why you just. Oh, I agree. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Not everybody agree with me, you know, especially on LinkedIn. You can see lots of conversations there. So, you know, I'm not always right, but we can debate and discuss, you know, and make sure we all understanding things. Okay, but let's go back. So guys, look at this. 2 sides. First is we're doing, as a testers, we're doing testing and system testing, system integration testing. Second side, we're doing not testing. We deliver application to production, and then in production, customers finding defects, finding problems, right? Very simple thing. 2 sides. One is we testing as part of the system testing, system integration testing, using agile, waterfall. It doesn't matter what methodology, right? In production, any complaints, any issues got to be reported, got to be recorded. We need to analyze, we need to understand. Very easy. Now, look at this. For example, now test efficiency, it's 100% always when we start, because we have no defects. If there is no defects, it's 100% test efficiency. If there is defects, it's going to be 100%. We aiming, our goal as a quality assurance engineers, our quality assurance testers, aim to achieve 100% test efficiency. Okay, do you agree or disagree? Absolutely agree. Now, this is very interesting. Let's say we found as a quality assurance team 1 defect Severity, critical defect in testing, okay? One high, one medium, and one low, okay? Now, since in production, no complaints, no issues, no problems, nobody detected and reported anything, look how beautiful this is. It's 100% test efficiency. So if I'm part of the team, if I'm, part of the agile team or testing team, doesn't matter. I go and I say, look, my manager, look how beautiful we did the job. In production, nobody find anything after the release. Now, this is very important. What is the period of time you're measuring that defect leakage or test efficiency, right? Usually, and again, there is no correct answer to this. Anybody can come up with anything, but usually, realistically, if you're releasing a release today, for example, in 1 week, is it enough for product to stay in production and for users who are using this on a daily basis, right? If it's not a new product, if it's a new product, it's different. If it's existing release, existing product, been there for many years, you have a new release, within the first week, do you feel it's good enough time for existing users to see what is wrong in the application? Because they're going to use these same features on a daily basis. So in my opinion, within 1 week for existing product, you will know if something, if this new release or new sprint impacted any existing functionalities. I feel that we can see some problems. Now, usually we monitoring this for a period of 2 weeks. After any release goes live, this is the timeline, this is the slot, 2 weeks to measure a defect leakage, meaning to identify and collect all the complaints, collect all the issues and problems which are reported in production environment by customers and clients, okay? And evaluate them, okay? In order to calculate this. Now, for the new product, 2 weeks, if it's a relatively new product, maybe not enough time to really measure it. So I would say 1 month, 4 weeks is good enough time to actually measure the performance of quality on your product deliverables, which you did for the last 6 months, for example, and deliver this to production. In 1 month, you will see some feedback. You will have a clear picture. Is it good? Is it a lot of problems? Is it not too many problems? Is it no problems? Are there no problems at all, right? You would agree with this, correct? So can we agree that in production, okay, we release 2-week sprint, it went live. This is the defect which we identify in production. Now, look how interesting the calculation is. If we missed one defect, which is a critical defect, I want you to pay attention to this number. Test efficiency right now is 71.43%. Why it's dropped? You found 4 defects here, but in production, customer find only 1 defect. Why it's so significantly dropped? Only because critical getting penalized much at the higher rate, okay? This is why. Now, look at this. Let's change the number, and let's put on the low side, we put 1 here. Look at this. It's 90, so it's not that bad. So test efficiency is how effective your testing is. Your testing was effective, but still not effective enough because you missed a defect. And that defect caused you to lose almost 10% of the overall execution efficiency. Now, how the defect leakage is getting calculated here? It's very simple. 100% minus 90.91% will be 9.099%. Here is a defect leakage. This is the key performance indicator. So if somebody will ask, based on this situation, based on this breakdown, what is the defect leakage on my latest release to production? You would say 9% defect leakage. And now the question is it good leakage? Is it bad leakage? Is it okay leakage or not, right? So the question is, what is it? And I'll give you the answer. I mean, again, you don't have to believe me or you don't have to think that this is correct, but in my organization, QA Mentor organization, and this is how it's been from day one for the last 10 years, we guarantee in front of the customers that we're not going to miss more than 3% of the defect leakage. So in other words, we guarantee the maximum 3% defect leakage on the application. Now, somebody will say, oh, but you're still missing defects. Yes, there is always defects, guys. It's impossible not to have any defects for a product, right? You all know that. But we guarantee we're going to be penalized if there will be more than 3% of the defects leaked into production, okay? And it's in writing for any clients, right? This is our statement to them. So if we would have this defect leakage, what would happen? We would pay penalties. We would be going bankrupt if for every product we as a quality assurance testing company would deliver this and just one defect here. Do you see? With just one defect, low severity defect, we would be in trouble. We would be out of business because the defect leakage here is almost 10%, and we guarantee 3%. It's 3 times more than what we guarantee. Imagine this. Say goodbye to QA Mentor, out of business, right? Now, we come up with this realistic number, 3%. I know for a fact, not a single company in the world can put this in writing, that we guarantee 3% defect leakage because they're afraid it might be more and they will go bankrupt, right? Excellent question, Shiva. I love this question. Ruslan, can you explain how you're able to maintain only 3%? I will have a separate topic, how to achieve 3%. It's not for this topic because it's going to take me another hour and we're going to run out of time completely. So this is excellent. Excellent question. I will park this question and we're going to have a separate session on this, I promise, in upcoming sessions, because this is extremely important. You got to have strategies to be able to achieve this, right? Not blindly say, oh, I can achieve this. How? Go ahead. Look, you didn't achieve this. You have one little defect, low severity defect right here based on these numbers, and you're already behind by 9%, right? Okay, so let me show you something else. So this is 90%. Now, obviously, there are more defects. So let's just do some numbers here. So 10, 23, let's just do more, right? Because we're finding more defects for the releases than just one, right? Now, and let's do this 1, let's do 3, 12, you know, and 1. Okay, now 90 defects identified during the testing and 17 misses in production, right? Your test efficiency is 84%, or the defect leakage is 100 minus 84, which is 16, 15 point something, right? Now, is it bad? Well, 15% defect leakage, it's bad, guys. It's bad relatively to what I said, because we're aiming to 3%. We started before with 5. We raised the bar higher to 3%. We raised the bar higher to 3%. But originally, you're starting small, right? You got to improve. Now, can we reach 1% defect leakage? Almost impossible. Almost impossible. In order to reach this, we got to automate and have a complete automation implementation in place. Okay, and that's one of the strategies which we're going to discuss about this. But 1% is really impossible. Now, it's possible if you do a little sprint, just one user story. Yeah, somebody might say I achieved 100% efficiency or 0 defect leakage, of course. But let's be real, guys. We're not talking about one functionality. We develop registration form, and we all know how to test registration form with field validation rules, or with boundary testing conditions, required, non-required, error messages. We all know this. We tested this for every single application. Yes, you can achieve 0 defect leakage there, but for the most part, applications is not about registration form. So in my opinion, 1%, you got to be top, high performance testing organization, testing department to achieve this. Even in Microsoft, Google, Apple, ask them. I talk to them all the time, to their managers. It's not achievable, not practical. It's not realistic. Whoever say you, I can achieve, I can bet anything on this, okay? So, yeah, I even hardly believe in 3%. Well, who said that? I even hardly believe in 3%. Welcome. come to my office. I'm going to show you a contract. I'm going to show you metrics for each of the release, which we support clients. You will see defect leakage calculation, maintaining less than 3% release after the release, sprint after sprint, signed by the client. Please come. I'll show you in New York anytime. If you're in New York, come over, please. I'm going to show you this. So 3% is possible. But again, it's very difficult. You have to have strategies in place to be able to achieve that. And there is other important things. Now, we have some caveats here. If there is no requirements and you want to test this without requirements, then we cannot guarantee 3% defect leakage. We can guarantee 3% defect leakage only if you have requirements, user stories, and we can have access to expected results, acceptance criteria, business rules, field validation rules. We have all of this information, because otherwise, without it, we cannot build a comprehensive test case coverage. We cannot achieve this. So how can I promise you, without having the requirements and understanding all the acceptance criteria, that I guarantee you magically 3% defect leakage? In this case, not possible. But with the proper requirements, we easily can do that. Not easily. It's hard. Not easily. It's achievable. Otherwise, we would not be in business, guys. Remember, we're still in business because we keep attaining and achieving this very high mark of the defect leakage calculation. Okay. Okay. So any questions, guys, on this? We have half an hour, and whoever have time, we can go a little bit over, because I still have a lot of interesting things to discuss. I didn't get to the interesting point, how we save the entire QA department from sending home because of this, okay? Any questions, guys? I want to see any questions. Somebody said, Ruslan, glad to hear such a confident to keep 3%. I mean, I'm not confident, in this. It's our goal, and it's goals and objectives of all of our employees. Every single employee in QA Mentor has these annual objectives to achieve and attain minimum 3% defect leakage for all of the work and projects and modules and regression test cases and the functional test cases which they're responsible for, because it's traceable. Remember I said, how do you measure your personal quality success? Your personal quality success. We know how to measure, and we're measuring. Our guys know how to measure, and they're measuring. So if they help to achieve this 3% defect leakage on their side, and collectively as a team delivering the product, don't you think they deserve bonuses, increases, promotions? But if they're not achieving this, we're going bankrupt. We're not meeting client expectations. We're paying penalties. This is how it works. If you achieve, you got to be rewarded. But if you don't know how to calculate and what to achieve and what are the targets to achieve, then you blindly stating, I'm doing a good job. And you cannot explain me, what does it mean a good job? And what does it mean a quality job in your settings for a project, And I heard this many times, I'm doing a great job. How do you measure this great job? How can you measure? How can you prove me that you're doing a great job? No answer. I don't know how, but this is very subjective. I'm doing a great job. I'm a nice guy. I'm a good guy. Well, that's what you think, right? Prove it. So how you prove it? You prove it with evidences. You're proving with metrics. You're proving with stats. You're proving with facts. You're proving with survey results, customer satisfaction score results, which should never be sugar-coated or fake numbers around it, right? No, you go and check. That's black and white. We release the software, we achieve 2.8 defect leakage. We meet the SLA, we go into the next release. Everybody's happy. We missed SLA, let's review the problems. Now, this is the next interesting discussion, because how do you know you missed the defect? Because the defect in production could be the setup in production was not done the proper way, same as QA. The test data or the production data is totally different from the test data environments, right? the configuration specifically for that client was totally different, or somebody forgot to deploy certain files, but in test environments it's working, in production is not working. So before we truly conclude the defect leakage, you got to analyze all of the defects in production. And you need to understand how to analyze them properly, accurately, and fairly. You cannot BS about this. You cannot say, oh, this is not my fault. Everything is traceable. But you would note a very interesting thing. Do you know how many problems missed in the last build, which is going on the last day of sprint, where before you tested, everything looks great, perfect. Last day, that functionality is no longer working because you don't have the automation in place, and you cannot possibly execute 10,000 test cases in the last day. You're missing the problems, right? But it's still your fault as a QA engineer. You got to prevent this. It's another topic of discussion: risk-based approach, impact analysis, how to test smarter instead of executing 10,000 test cases, and concentrate on what is impacted truly and how to figure out what is impacted truly without closing eyes and executing all of this. If you have automation, execute every other minute, not a problem. But if you're doing it manually, if it's a time-consuming effort, you got to do it smartly, okay? Not hardly, but smartly. Different topics. I don't want to, talk about this right now. But let me show you something, guys. And this is unbelievable. Couple years back, okay, we were hired, okay, in one of the financial company. We were doing some strategic work there, some projects there, implementations of the best practices, supporting the testing center of excellence. They came up to me and they said, Ruslan, we have a problem at the system integration test level. We have the system testing team, system integration testing team, SAT, and we have the UAT, okay? We have a disaster. Every time when UAT tests the release, they finding tons of defects. And we have statistics and we have the data which shows how many defects are missed. I said, okay, I understand. And senior management, sick and tired from this, they want to remove the entire team with the vendor who's supporting this, okay? I said, let's not make false assumptions. Let's not make fast conclusions. Let's review the facts. Let's review the data. Let's us investigate this a little bit more, okay? To make a conclusion, unbiased, honest conclusion, right? Because firing the 80 people departments with the vendor, it's a big thing, right? So look at this. This is real. This is no fake here. This is real numbers. It's just the names different, of the releases. So you guys will not understand what's the, client is, but this is the real thing. I said, show me the data. Let's get to defect tracking system. ALM was the system. We extract the data and we said, okay, let's see what system testers found during the system testing. Let's see what the UAT team found during the UAT for release number 7. They didn't have sprints. It was a release. Okay, they have quarterly releases. So that was a release. Remember, not sprint. Each release, they test 1 month in system testing and 2 months in user acceptance testing. Just by that, how not intelligent it is that UAT takes more time than SAT. It's not supposed to be this way. I mean, you can agree with me or disagree. I have a very strong feeling on this. No way that UAT will take longer than system testing. Why? Why? So, but it's not the point here. Look at this situation right here. Let's say I'm a senior management, somebody giving me the data, and I'm looking at the data. Oh my God, 320 defects identified during the system testing, 158 defects during the UAT. This is UAT, remember. 185? What? 185 defects identified in UAT? I mean, write me down the answers. Is it a good thing? If you was a senior management, what would you think? Is it a good or is it a bad? Write me down the answer to this question. Yeah, very bad. Absolutely. It's horrible. Imagine after you, somebody finding 158 defects. Absolutely horrible. That's what the senior management saw. I said, okay, let's massage the data. We got to massage the data. We got to understand the data. The data never lies. Remember, metrics never lies. Okay. Although some people can make up numbers, you know, some COVID cases numbers, people can make it up, right? Increase, decrease. Forget about politics. Here's QA, there is no politics. Let's talk about the data, okay? How are we gonna interpret this data? So I said, okay, this is all defects, but let's figure out what valid defects UAT found, and let's filter out invalid defects. You would agree with me. Every release you do, there's valid defects, there is invalid defects. There is invalid defects which needs to be rejected, right? Because they're not valid. They're not, you know, defects which will be fixed and addressed, okay? So let's go to the next step, okay? And this is what we see here. Remember, look at the number. Remember, 320 and 158. We're going to the valid defects category, 263 and 110. Do you see the number decreases on both sides? Because we filter out invalid defects, okay? We filter out invalid defects. Now, look at my definition here. I said, for all valid defects, all defects considered to be valid if there is no rejected status on the defect, there is no duplicate. They can put 10 duplicate defects. And how do I know that? I got to investigate, right? They might put invalid defects and it's just a number. It's just a count, right? This is what's happening. Recommendations, suggestions, improvements. Do you know UAT? UAT, it's all about improving or changing things, right? It's about enhancing, but that's not defect, right? Defect is something not working according to the requirements, according to the specifications, not adhering to the business expectations, right? Not change this color or add this new report or add this new column in the report. No. Where were you before when we, you know, define the requirements? At that time you can talk. Now, don't give me this defects. This is not defects. This is enhancements. Totally separate category. Okay. So after filtration, this is what we came up with. Now, look at this test efficiency. 69, it went from 66. Not a big deal, only 3%. We did the filtration by removing invalid defects, which make picture a little bit better. 69. So still bad, guys. Do you agree? Somebody say fire the testers. That's what they wanted to fire the testers. That's what they wanted to do. And I said, wait a minute. Let's figure out things. Let's not be too fast in our decisions and determinations. So who can tell me now that 69% is still bad and you didn't change your opinion? You still want to fire this team? Who would agree with this? Do you still want to fire the team? Is it still bad? Oh, somebody said not sure, but not sure. Well, I need to understand this. Why? It's only 3% difference. So from 66, it went to 69, right? If you agree in the first case, you want to fire this person, 3% better doesn't make any difference, significant difference, right? Still too much. I agree. I personally, if I'm a manager and somebody feed me this information and say, look, defect leakage is 30%, it's a disaster. Forget about it. Go home. We're out of business here. I mean, you're not the testers to miss 30% of the defects. How can you do the testing if you're missing 30% of the defect leakage? It's just impossible, right? So I said, okay, good. This is the numbers, okay? Now Now, and this is the interesting thing is, this is what I said, guys, how about I want to see at the situation where I want to understand only defects relating to the code errors. Why? Why do you think I wanted to see only code errors? Can somebody explain? If somebody get this answer correctly, I'm gonna give a gift. Okay, I'm gonna give you one of our e-learning courses free of charge, which costs $200, for example. Whoever will answer this question. Why I wanted to see only code-related issues. Any guesses, guys? Please write it down in the chat. Anybody? Tricky question. Of course, all my questions are tricky. That's why you guys got to think. Those are the ones you can control with your team, not subjective. Good, but that's not what I'm looking for. Come on, think, please, guys. There's so many of you. Think. You got to think. There is no wrong answers to this. Just, I want to see your thinking process. Why only code-related issues? What it has to do with anything, code-related issues. We already see, we filter all the invalid defects, but why code-related issues? Code errors. That would be major area of concern to fix it. Good, yeah, okay, close. Because there can be errors with the content. Yeah, absolutely, there could be errors with the content, but if the content errors are there, it's still errors, right? It's still problems. So when you change, I mean, it's not per se the code changes there, it's a content change and content update, which is good, yeah. It's not significant or serious issue, so they're not as need to be penalized as the code-related issues, but they still need to be penalized if you miss them, okay? But it's closer. There can be errors with content. There could be issues with data. Who is this? Dwayne, excellent. You're getting close. I give you a present. I like this. There could be issues with data or environment. I stop right here. Excellent, Dwayne. I don't know you. Excellent thinking. Now I explain you why this is crucial. Why his answer is so crucial to this. Look. Let's go to the code error category. Errors, and this is my definition, in SAT includes defects with the root cause, development error, design error, interface error. Now, do you know there's configuration errors, build and deployment errors, environmental errors, test data errors? Do you know how many of those requirements error? This is all defect. Do you know how many of those errors could be? So the question is, why would I be penalized as part of the system testing team if in UAT they finding constantly deployment errors? Somebody deploy code and something is not working, but it was working in QA. I don't know who is deploying in UAT and making mistake. Why it should be my problem? It's not my problem. It's your problem. It's your environment problem, the person who deploying this. Why should I get penalized? Why my management should look at the numbers and see how bad we are because you entering so many environment-related issues, because you entering the data-related issues, because in your environment, the test data is not propagated properly, it's not imported properly, and because of that, you see some errors. I don't see these errors in SAT. You see this in UAT. Why I have to be fired for this? Because you claiming, look how many defects we found in UAT. Is it fair? Answers, please. Now, look at these numbers now. Look how many defects are there. 63 defects now after filtration, where I said, if I will see environment-related issues in UAT, I'm not accepting this. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's your environment. In my environment, it's working. I don't see this problem. In your environment, you see this problem, talk to the deployment, configuration manager, deployment manager, whoever deployed this code for you, environmental manager, whoever is setting the test data for you. It's not my problem. Why should I get penalized for this, right? So look at this. Now, do you see now how the percentage started to increase? Now it's 76%. Still 63 defects. It's still a lot. Do you agree or disagree? Still 63 defects, a lot of defects. Do you agree or disagree? Agree. I would say, I would agree as well. Its situation is bad. It's like 24% defect leakage. So remember, we started with 66%, which is 34% defect leakage. We came to 76%, which is test efficiency. 100% minus 76%, that's 33% defect leakage. Still, if you compare with 3% our target and 33% here, it's 10 times more. It's horrible, horrible, still horrible. But I show them, now you understand the data, and the data behind this, it's not necessarily can paint a clear picture. It can paint a false picture. You got to investigate. Now what I did was totally amazing thing, I think. I said, let's review 63 defects one by one. Open every single defect out of this from ALM, from Quality Center, and investigate this. So what I did was, I went to this and I extracted 63 UAT defects, okay, from there. And what I did was, I said system integration testing missed, system integration not missed. And I said not accepted, not accepted, not accepted, not accepted, not accepted. Look at this. Where I said not accepted, we have a defect, which is we identified, not we, that team is identified during the SAT, reported, but it was not fixed. Why? Because management said, oh, we're going to fix it later on. Now, this is a duplicate issue. They said, I found the defect in SAT. Well, but guess what? We found this defect earlier on, before you. You're just duplicating this defect. So yeah, it's exists in your environment, but we found it. They never fix it. So it's not fair for you to say we missed it. We didn't miss it. We found it. So we did this due diligence. It took time to analyze every single defect, but this is what happens now. Out of 63 code-related issues, we went down to 31, right? Half, almost half. Now look at this test efficiency indicator, 87%. So it's 13% defect leakage. Look where we started. Almost 33% went down to 13%. Now, what do you think right now? Excellent. Who said that? Again, Dwayne, you got good presence from today's session from me. Absolutely. Look at this. This is what we care about. Look at this zero, real zero. This is what my argument was. I said, guys, yes, 87% test efficiency equivalent to 13% defect leakage, right? But look at this, critical, 0, high, 9, medium, 13, low, 9. Should we fire this team? Is it fair? So what do you think? Do you get the point of this? Do you see how we saved the company, I mean, the QA department from going home unfairly? They didn't even know that they're doing okay job. I mean, again, 13%, it's not okay, but it's not crazy bad, okay? It's not crazy bad. Still, but 0 critical issues and 9 high, you know, some something to work on, right, and improve on. But you cannot claim that this team is totally insane. They couldn't believe. They said, Ruslan, you saved our life. I said, I didn't save anybody. You gotta learn the data behind the metrics. You gotta understand this. You gotta calculate this the proper way. Because back to my point, metrics never lie. Okay, they can lie if you let them lie. In this case, the management received this information, right? This information received, and here metrics lied, right? And what we did is we discover lies because they cannot, consider duplicated defects, environmental defects, configuration defects, not code-related defects. And if it's found the code-related issues, let's trace it back. Maybe we found it first and it's not fixed yet because they decided to suspend this and defer this to the next release. Do you see how beautiful this is now? Totally different situation, total different impressions, totally different ball game by itself. Wow, I made it on time with 3 minutes. For the questions. I can stay longer if you want for another 10 minutes. Guys, any questions? Do you understand this? Do you understand how important this is? Everybody who is participating here today will receive the template, this template. So you will understand how to do it right. Nobody will fool you around anymore by saying you're not doing a good job. If you're not doing a good job, you will see this through the metrics and calculations and you will admit it. But if it's not fair and somebody is really showing, oh, look, 25 defects in production, and you really never analyze those defects and really understand that, yeah, you indeed miss it, or no, I had no opportunity to catch this defect because this service in my test environment was not there. So how can I test this? Next, the lessons learned is if you don't have this service integrated, you got to do a virtualize this. You got to add this virtualized service to mimic the production environment in order for you to test this properly. If you don't have this, So Ruslan, your favorite metrics among 40 metrics. Yes, defect leakage is my favorite metric. This is metric number 1, defect leakage, because this is my face. This is my company face. This is our face. How well you're doing. How well you providing quality to the organizations, right? So that's my favorite metrics. I have a few others I will share next sessions as well. Some very interesting metrics. I like ROI, how to calculate return on investments for automation, for example. So you will understand whether it's worth automating this or maybe you're automating just to play around with the tool and it's really not bringing any results, right? We're going to see all of these controversial topics and metrics, but what you're going to hear is honest truth of what is going out there. No BS, oh yeah, let's do automation, is great, it's perfect, and without it, you cannot really deliver quality product. You can deliver quality product without automation. You can still hit 3% defect leakage without automation. Don't worry about it. But there got to be follow the strategies for this, how to achieve this, okay? So automation is not auto magic, right? So any questions, guys? I hope, you come back and you're going to start applying this because I want you to apply this because you need to know how you progressing, how you contributing towards quality, how your team achieving successful results on the quality for the automation. I want to see this, So any questions, guys? Please. Again, if not today, shoot me on LinkedIn. We will be able to answer any questions. Can you explain how metrics fight the injustice? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. This is just exactly how it's fight the injustice, because it was not really a true statement to say that QA team during the system testing was bad and was not doing their job, right? Just simply by looking at those metrics. So after that, we prove that situation is totally different. So this is my reference to how metrics can fight the injustice, understanding truly the proper data behind, the truth behind, you can find the injustice. And in my career, you would not believe how many fights I had, in the past with, with management, where, they show me one metrics and I said, this is not true. And I showed them my metrics and they said, this is not true. And I said, well, but let's look into this. And then I start showing them with examples and facts. And they said, yeah, your metrics are really correct. I'm surprised that, we had a different metrics. Well, that's the thing. Any questions, guys? All right. If no other questions, thank you very much, guys. Once again, thank you to Committed for organizing this very, very important, platform for our community where you can learn things. I mean, where can you learn this? There is no books which will explain you this. There is no Google to explain you what I just show you guys. I mean, this is many years of experience and you're getting this, such an important knowledge from all of this. I mean, do you understand? It took years and years to understand how to do this right? It's not like I was born and, I implemented this right away. And, it took a lot of different things and thinking processes, to get to this. But I want you to measure this the right way. I'm not hiding this information. I'm not afraid that competitors will start measuring the same thing. Maybe some of them already measuring. They might say, yeah, we're measuring the same way. Believe me, I had a lot of surveys and sampling where people never measured this way, okay? So now you will know how to do it right. And you can take this back to your organizations, implement this across the board, start using it, please. It's all yours, okay? Okay. See you next time, guys. Take care, all the best. Stay healthy, happy, and try to make difference every day. Learn. This is the critical thing. Don't, waste time on the Facebook. Learn constantly. So much things. 23 years of experience. I'm still learning every day. So many different things. I mean, it just, you might think QA, oh, what are you learning? It's just testing. It's a lot of things every day. A lot of learning. So see you next time, guys. Take care. All the best once again. Thank you.